for the Good Morning Minute podcast, where we start your day with purpose, passion, and a little bit of power. I'm your host, Angelina Mojica, and today's conversation is part of our special series in partnership with the Empower Her Steps virtual conference, a movement rooted in helping women rise, heal, and walk boldly into the life God has designed for them. Our mission is simple but powerful, empowering life purpose. Because we believe that when a woman finds clarity in her calling, everything changes for her family, her community, and the generations to come. So friends, grab yourself a cup of coffee, take a deep breath, and be ready to be uplifted as we dive into real stories, honest conversations, and bold steps towards purpose with our incredible guest. And our guest today is Christina. Christina, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I'm so excited to get to know you further. But before we jump into our conversation, why don't you take a few minutes and just introduce yourself?
All right. I'm Christina Bulkilvish. I am an inspirational speaker and life coach, and I've gotten here through a great many of ways and lived a lot of life. So that's a little bit what I'm going to talk to you about today is telling you my story of what brought me here and why I want to help other people.
Wonderful. Well, I look forward to diving into the conversation. But before we get started, I like to start with a little fun, light icebreaker. And my question this morning to you is, what's one thing that makes you smile? One small thing that makes you smile.
As weird as this sounds, I make myself smile. I look for the positives in life. And so doing that, chasing my priorities, my goals, my dreams has ultimately led me to smiling. That being said, I'm currently at the beach, and the beach also makes me smile.
Oh, I'm a beach person myself. I love to get out there and just listen to the waves and just
Mhm.
connect back to nature for sure. It's a great grounding moment for myself. All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the heart of our conversation today. And my question to you, Christina, is what was a defining moment of pain or challenge in your life, and how did it impact you?
So I have a lot of those, but I'm going to answer with two. Um, The first one is I'm actually a domestic violence survivor.
Mm.
So I've lived through a lot of things. I had to overcome a lot, be in the dark place, get out of it, all of that. And then the other part too is, I've been healing for years because healing's something that you always continue to do.
Mm.
So in this process of healing, I wound up, I'll say, I took a pay cut at a job during COVID. And this was like after I got divorced, everything else, took a pay cut, got out of my relationship. And I took a $35,000 pay cut. My boss said, I can't pay you what you were making, but I can promise that you'll be happy here. And at the time, my life was missing happiness.
Mm.
So I took the job, and he was right. I became happy. He's a really great boss. He was a really great boss. He's not my boss anymore. I'll get into that too. But yeah, so he had told me I'll be happy, and that was really a big shift for me because I had to learn how to be happy. Basically, I'm gonna say with less money. So, if
Mm.
somebody still to this day, if somebody said happiness or money, I'd still choose happiness, which kind of leads me to where I am today. So I actually I've been traveling the world for the past 2 years, and the way that all came about is I got rear-ended in a concussion, or sorry, rear-ended in a car accident, got a concussion, and I was like, you know what? Life's too short. And so my boss told me, like, they do. They say, oh, unfortunately, we're going to have to take away your vacation time because that's just how the world works. Like, you use your sick
Mm.
time, then they take your vacation. And I was like, oh, I'm missing out on so much of life right now. I don't want you to take away the one thing that's going to make my life better when I can actually go. But that's the way of the world, and it had to be. And so I made a promise to myself then, and I'm okay. Life's too short to keep making my boss's dreams come true. So when I get
Mm.
better, I'm going to start prioritizing my dreams, my goals, and I'm going to travel the world. So in September 2023, I quit my job and I started traveling, and I'm still traveling. I'm currently in Puerto Escondido, Mexico, and it's been really good. You meet so many people along the way and you really grow more and more resilient. And yeah, I would not change it. And again, same thing still applies, happiness or money. And I'm still chasing that happiness. And so that's part of where I'm at is, I want to help other people find their happiness too.
Mm.
If you want, I can go more into how I overcame things, but that's entirely up to you because this is your show.
Well, and actually, you're just prepping me for my next question because I definitely want to go into that. But I will say, here's one thing that just listening to you talk and hearing, the bits of your story and your journey to getting to where you are today, I already see that you encompass happiness. It's not something that you're chasing because you said, you're chasing happiness, but I think you already have it. It's within yourself.
Yeah,
When we talk about the fruits of the spirit, love is that foundation, and you have to come to a place of self-love. And I think you discovered that when you stepped outside of your domestic violent relationship.
yeah,
And then you step into a place of joy where you can start breeding happiness. And so I'm seeing bits of that trail
yeah.
in your journey. But I want to get into the part where, okay, what was it that helped you heal and grow through these pivoting moments in your life?
So I'm going to backtrack a little bit and
Sure.
say, because I feel like this will fit well. So part of when I was in the relationship, the domestic violent relationship, I had gotten to a point where I remember he wasn't being so nice to me, I'll just say. He wasn't being so nice. And I got to the point where I was just like, is my life, I know they say it always starts off less, like it gets worse and worse as time progresses. And I'm not saying it would have been to that point, but it
Mhm.
was still a thought in my mind of, is my life really worth less than his? Like, my life is worth living. And I shouldn't have to wonder each day what I'm going to wake up to, how he's going to be, what to expect, like, basically living in fear.
Mhm.
And so I got to that point where I was just like, no, I have to get out of this. And granted, it is hard. It is a lot harder than you would think because I always said, so my ex wound up cheating on me and then I found out, and then he tried to forcibly keep me there. So I always thought that if somebody cheats on you, you're done. Like, that's it.
Mhm.
And I would just like to say it's not as easy. When you're going through it, it's not as easy because for me, like, I still loved him. And yes, he was treating me badly at times, but didn't change the fact that I still really did have feelings for him, cared for him, but at the same time, it's like, who do I care for more? Do I care for myself or do I care for him?
Mhm.
And that was the shift that I needed to start prioritizing myself. So that was kind of when it happened, I'll say, when I officially was like, okay, I'm done. And so it wound up starting out kind of like you said, like nature is therapy. Eventually, I was going to court so many times to try and fight a restraining order because I had a restraining order, and the court system was kind of failing me. So eventually, I couldn't continue to pay for lawyers. I moved out of the house and into a windowless basement with my uncle, and I stayed in his basement for about a year and a half, also during COVID. So, COVID times weren't fun in general for a lot of people, let alone being in a windowless basement, really not fun. But that's also how I found out that I really enjoy hiking because when we were allowed outside again, I started hiking. And it got to a point where I was like, yeah, nature is therapy. And it was really good to be outside. I started taking photos of nature and just the things that brought me happiness, gratitude. So
Mhm.
basically, switching my mind from that place of, I was just saying this earlier, the place of lack to a place of abundance, by seeing all the things outside, I was like, okay, like yeah, life is good. It may have times when it's not. Nature's beautiful, and that too makes you, I'm going to say, a little bit more spiritual as well. And so it was nice how everything started coming together. And then eventually that went from I want to go to all the tops of the mountains that I can to Well, I also want to go to the tops of mountains in other countries. So from there, I started solo traveling on any vacation holiday, depending on what you call it. So any vacation time that I got, I started going on solo trips because I also made a promise to myself when I got out of it that I wasn't going to let anybody stop me again. If I
Mm,
wanted to go do something, I was going to do it. So that's basically what I took upon myself of like, all right, you made this promise to yourself and you're going to keep it. And so I forget the first place that I solo traveled to was Hawaii. I had friends out there, but I'd never been to Hawaii. They had to work. So I did that, I think 10-hour flight, 12-hour flight to Hawaii. That was my first
mhm.
solo trip. And it was good. I saw that, okay, I can be who I need to be. I can do all the things. And I went hiking, did everything. And, I think the more and more you trust yourself, the more and more like better life becomes, when you start living life with passion, because passion is priceless. So that's how this all came about, how I started traveling. But I also do remember those times, and I have them written in my phone because for me, like writing things down, almost like poetry, was very helpful to just process. But yeah, I had some time when I was sitting in a closet hiding from him, and I had written down like, what I was giving up. Like I said something along the lines, I could read it, but I don't have it pulled up. But something along the lines of like, goodbye to my best friend, goodbye to the life that I thought I was going to have,
Wow.
goodbye to like all of these things.
Hmm.
But still at the end of that, I was like, but I know I'm made for more than this.
Hmm.
And God made me for more than this, and I will overcome it. And I have, and it's been great. And I will definitely say to anybody that's listening, if you're going through hard times, it does get better. Yes, it stinks when you're in it. It really does. And it feels like you may never get out of it, but you do. Like, I've looked back at it actually recently, and I'm like, wow, it at this point, it was probably like 6 years ago when I'll say my life blew up with all of these things. But
Uh-huh.
when you're in it, it just seems like, oh my gosh, this is going to take forever. And I just want to be out of it. But now I'm out of it. And I was like, well, that was a long time ago. So, I very much get how everything is for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wow. And as I mean, I see you exude the joy and the peace and the freedom. So much freedom in where you
Mhm.
are now. I can just detect it from the way you speak about it. What a journey. Oh my gosh, what a
Yeah.
journey. From being, and I mean, and really because I come from a domestically violent relationship myself. And so breaking free from that, I mean, because it's almost like you're held in a captivity
Hmm.
mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And until you make that decision, like, you know what, I'm putting myself first and I'm going to love myself enough to say, this is not what I'm worth. I'm worth, and you said it so much more. I was created for so much more than this. And
Hmm.
it's true. And I've said in other podcasts that, we tend to put the limits on ourselves. So when we accept things in our life, we're basically saying this is what I deserve, and that, that comes from a number of things when we're looking at it and just kind of peeling back the onion there. But to see you kind of like this butterfly, that's what's coming to my mind, is this butterfly that's breaking free from this idea of what her life should have looked like, and really saying, you know what, no more. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to create something for myself that's not only going to fulfill me and make me happy, but also to step into a realm where I can start teaching others, as a coach, right? So let's talk a little bit about that, because when did you start getting to a place where you discovered, you know what, there is purpose in all of this?
So I guess, I kind of I enjoyed helping people. I always
Mm-hmm.
have, I still do. And it's to a point of my way of starting to travel, words are hard, was the fact that I basically left with no plan whatsoever except get to Chiang Mai, Thailand, learn to teach English, and be certified to teach English wherever I go. So even that route, I still was helping people in the process. So,
Mhm.
at this point, I've taught kids as young as 4 and as old as 64, so it was just a thing I've always enjoyed doing. And so, in the process of just talking to people in life and hearing their stories, a lot of times, someone meets me, and unless I tell you my story, you typically don't know. Like, you just, yeah, there's a girl that, you'd assume I didn't have any hard trials in life or whatever, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. But when you start talking to people and you realize a little bit of two things, how common it is, and then also like the fact that sorry, my computer's making noises. Yeah, so when you realize how common it is and the fact that everybody has the same problem, it's like, well, I learned how to overcome them. And that's part of, I don't want to say the problem of life, but kind of the problem of life is so many people stay stuck because they don't they
Mhm.
don't acknowledge the fear that's holding them back. And so because of that, I'm like, well, I could teach this. And a lot of times when people meet me, they're like, how do you do it? I don't understand. So
Mhm.
ultimately, the same reason why I started my social media and everything else is because I realized that there is a lot of ugly in the world.
Mhm.
And I just wanted people to see beautiful things. So when I started hiking, I started taking nature photos, started posting them, and then travel photos and started posting them. So essentially, it's still I want people to have good lives. It doesn't matter if it's the boy down the street, your
Mhm.
daughter, whatever it may be. Like, I want people to have good lives because I think life gets better when you're happy and when you're living to your capacity and everything else. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I very much, that's where I'm at in life. And, it's been good. But yeah, helping people has kind of just always been in me. Even my mom, she had a program growing up called Girls Empowered Through Mentorship, which spelled out GEM, the GEM program.
Mhm.
And so, as a tribute to her, I also named my company Growth Empowered Mindset, which spells out GEM.
Mhm.
And previous to this life change, I was in the jewelry industry and I am a certified gemologist. So it pays tribute to all of that. But
Wow.
yeah, I've just always grown up wanting to help people. And that's how, like, that was ingrained in me since I was little is like, be a good person.
Wow. And and I get it. No, 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 I really do because that's what started this podcast. I started this podcast back in 2019 because of where the world was at that time. I just wanted to bring some hope back into the lives of people that at first that I knew, but just to continue to grow that across, different platforms and whatnot. It really is to inspire, it really is to encourage people
Mhm.
genuinely, right? Without asking anything of anybody, but truly just saying, you know what, there is someone out there in the world that is there with you, that is wanting you to be the best that you can be. Um, but I love how you've also just embraced some of your history with your mother and all of the things as you formulate this coaching business, and it's beautiful. I love it. And so, how has this story shaped you, who you are today, the person I'm seeing right now?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you'd like to think that you don't go through life changing a lot, but reality is you do. Like that's the
Hmm.
goal of life is to continue to grow. And so, there were two options. I could have stayed stuck where I was, or I could have decided to grow. And I'm very thankful for the growth that I've done. And, you know, I I didn't see this, I'll say, when I was going through my domestic violence situation. I never thought like, oh, this is going to be something where I tell the story one day, because a lot of times there's shame around it and so many people
Yeah,
feel hurt about it and don't want to
yeah.
share it. But, that also sheds light on the situation and helps other people realize, like, oh, it's okay. And people do get out of it and they can get out of it. And it just makes it so there's not as much shame
Mm.
And so I don't know if I answered your question correctly. What was your question? I'm sorry.
Just just how it's shaped you today, your
Yeah.
philosophies, your mindset, because you had a change in mindset, and I mean, I see it, you're living it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I know as a coaching person myself, like someone who coaches, you mentioned fear, and you're teaching people how not to fear and hold back, but fear and step in,
Hmm.
right? When I coach,
Yeah.
I teach on fear as a guiding post, and it really is. It's just telling you you're stepping into something that has never in your life has never been experienced, whether, you're the first generation to step into college, or you're the first person to go a little further than your parents. Whatever the case may be, you're stepping into an area of unknown, and fear is really just a guiding post to tell you that's what's
Hmm.
happening. So much and so many times people use fear as a stopping point, like a stop sign.
Yes.
And it really shouldn't, because it's just telling you, hey, it's okay. You're just going into something that no one has gone before. And so
Hmm.
I feel like the Star Trek going into the, anyways, I digress. So it is, it's just that guiding post of telling you that's okay. You're headed into, an unknown area, but you can discover more about yourself when you step into that. And that's where you can create from too, because
Yes.
there is no point of, um, what's the word I'm looking for? There's not a point of understanding in the sense of, again, it's yours. You're stepping into it. Nobody else has stepped into it that you know of before. And so now you can define what that unknown needs to look like for yourself. And that's where you start creating, so much like, coaching businesses or anything out
Yeah.
there for sure. Um, okay, and so Christina, how are you living with purpose now? What does that look like for you? I know you're traveling, you're hiking, you're doing all these things in nature. What else? What else do you put into practice to really just help yourself stay focused in this joy, happiness mindset?
All right. Well, I'm going to backtrack for 1 minute.
Sure.
So one of my favorite quotes is fear and faith are manifested the same way. And so for me, that has been such a thing. Anytime I feel fearful of something, I
Hmm.
think of that quote and I'm like, okay, am I focusing on the fear or am I focusing on the faith side of it? And
Hmm.
so that's kind of where I try to live my life from is focus on the faith side of it, that everything's going to work out. And that kind of goes towards my business as well. Like for me, I'm like, everything's going to work out. The right people are going to come along. I'm going to be able to help the right amounts of people. And it's just good for that, you know? And then I have a friend whose her favorite quote is on the other side of fear is something worthwhile.
Hmm.
And so both of those are good. And I 100% agree. Like fear is something that, you know, you see, but it's your body's way of saying, hey, this is new.
Hmm.
And so a lot of people see it as like, oh no, like stop, like you said, but it's really not that. It's something that it's like, okay, we're stepping into something new. And anytime that there's a big shift in my life, that's what I've thought about too, is
Hmm.
okay, we're stepping into something new. We should be excited about it.
Love
So
it.
that's my
Yeah.
fear part. And
So
then,
yeah, go ahead and step into the things that you're doing now to really harness that energy and stay within that mindset.
yeah, so in terms of harnessing that energy, like I'm leaning into the things that I like, want, and see for my life.
Hmm.
So in terms of traveling, I'm leaning into the traveling side, as you already know. But in terms of building a business and everything else, it's like, okay, like I'm taking those steps to do so.
Hmm.
So like I've made the book, I'm got to publish the book, like all the things. And it's just something that I feel is so ingrained in my core that it's not even I'm doing it from like I have to do this because this is what someone told me. It's like, no, I know that this is what I'm here to do and that I need to do it. And so sometimes it gets overwhelming because it's like, you want to
Mhm.
do all the things at once, including for me. Eventually, I will start a podcast. I really want to do that as well. But for right now, I'm on podcasts and that's okay too. But yeah, it's something that basically just going with what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm doing that, doing podcasts. I have like free workshop and things like that, just basically trying to change the world one step at a time. And then surrounding myself with like-minded individuals has really helped. For instance, the girl that's on the other side of the wall today, in the room apartment next door, her and I are going to be getting a place tomorrow together. And we are very much both like, okay, we are solo female travelers and we are starting businesses, and or hers is already started, mine is too, but we're building businesses bigger, I guess. So, having that support system of knowing what you want and surrounding yourself with those people that are going to help it. Like,
Mm.
if I wanted to, let's say, have a business, but I was going out with people and doing bad things at night, like that probably
Yeah.
wouldn't support it. So it's really just all about going after what you want, prioritizing those things, and then keeping with it, keeping consistent.
Mm. Good. Yeah. Good information, good stuff, good motivation too. And I see the creative mind that you have, and you're just like, I'm living a limitless life and I'm not going to place any barriers or blockers in front of me because I'm going to do what I can while I can. And so I love that. Well, as we start rounding out our conversation, Christina, let me ask you a question of legacy and impact. If today were your last day, what would you want to be remembered for?
I would want to be remembered for having people make changes in their life, for
Mm,
inspiring people to go after what they want. Because there's so many times that we don't go after what we want, and that was always a thing for me. That was one of my biggest fears, I'll say, is living a boring life. I didn't want to do it, and then the concussion really just made that much more of an impact of, yeah, I don't want to have this life that I can say, yeah, I lived, but I didn't really live it. Like I just went from day to day, and I don't want that. And I don't think people should want that. I think they should, well, it's okay if you do, but I think people should want to have a purpose and, live with their passions. So that's what I'd want to be remembered for.
wonderful. All right. Well, as we get to the end of our conversation, my last question to you today, Christina, is if you could leave maybe a bit of truth or a word of encouragement to someone who's listening out there that may be still looking for their life purpose, what would it be?
Keep going. Do all of the things that you love doing and repeat them. And eventually, in that, you find out what you are truly passionate about.
Wonderfully said. Beautiful. Well, Christina, let's give our listeners a contact for you if they want to work with you in your coaching business or just, get to know you a little bit better. How can they reach out to you?
So you can either find me on my website, gemmastery.com. So GEMMASTERY.com. Or you can find me on most of the socials at Happy Mindset Travel Girl. Or you can find me by looking up my name that I have attached to this video of me, Christina Bulkilvish.
Wonderful. Well, Christina, if you're ever in South Carolina, I am here also as solo female, um, living life.
Well, if you ever want to travel, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to stay in contact and maybe we could do some fun stuff together. That would be great. Um, well, Christina, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your heart, your story, and your light with us today. It's conversations like this that remind us that purpose isn't about perfection. It's about showing up and growing through the things that we go through and that every step matters. Here on the Good Morning Minute and through the Empower Her Steps movement, we believe every woman has a calling worth discovering and a voice worth using. So wherever you are today, friend, remember your purpose is powerful and you're not walking alone. Until next time, keep rising, keep trusting, keep walking boldly into the life God has designed for you. I am Angelina Mojica, your life coach, sending you much love, much peace, many blessings.